We are going. Are we going? We're going. Oh my god.
I think we're going. We're about to know. We're about to learn today. Late and gay. As usual. Let's see. Audio? Sounds good. Doesn't sound like we're in a event.
Hey, it's like we have a microphone now.
Yeah. So that's nice. All right. I guess we'll go ahead and we can go ahead and start the show, can't we?
We watch anime.
We watch anime. Hello. This is the podcast where I, B, and
I, Bird,
talk about anime that we watch. We're talking about a few shows that are currently airing right now this summer 2023 season, such as Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2, Mushoku Tensei Season 2,
Zom 100,
Zom 100, The Bucket List of the Dead, and
Pokemon Journey.
Horizons.
Or Horizons. I'm sorry, just
Journeys
so
was
many
the
of
old
them.
one.
And we are probably going to watch and cover the weird OVA that's coming out right now.
Oh, yeah.
Because I saw that animation of Tinkaton.
OVA.
You know what? I'm going to call it what I want.
OVA sounds like it's short for ovaries in my mind.
I see.
But OVA stands for Original Video Animation.
So why OVA is the reason I pronounce it is because every time I had experienced an OVA as a child, it was something that aired after the show was
OVA. Oh, that's really funny. That's closer to... So in Japan they have the word omake, which basically means like after the end. So anytime, for instance, in Pokemon Horizons, every episode has an omake section where
it's Freed
explains some stuff about the Pokemon. So yeah, that would be your OVA thing would be appropriate for omake as like a translation, but original video animation refers to the fact that it never was released on television. It was released directly to video. There's of course also ONA now, which is original net animation, which is way more common than it being released on video. But there are still some OVAs out there, but they're nowhere near as big of a concept as they were in the 80s and 90s when, video was being sold.
Well, and then I learned what OVA meant, and I was like, oh, this isn't it at all. But I prefer to call it an OVA because it's easier than saying OVA.
I promise you're not the only person who says it.
Why was I bringing up OVAs? Right, because
Pokemon.
of the other Pokemon thing.
There's like a Wit Studio Pokemon, like, original. It's a 4-episode thing, and there's some crazy sakuga of Tinkaton that's been all over your Twitter feed, so we have been meaning to check that
Pokemon
out.
Paldean Winds, that's what it is.
Paldean
There's also,
Winds.
I'm pretty sure, a Meowscarada getting a snack in a very cute way, which I think I showed you too.
Yeah, there's some really nice animation from that.
Did you know that anime is actually just a Japanese colloquialism for animation?
We will probably talk about that show, and we are, of course, also talking about 7 classic shows, one from every decade of anime history, because there's not really that much great
Did
anime
you mention
airing.
Jujutsu Kaisen?
I did.
Okay, I wasn't
started
sure.
with that.
I wasn't sure. It'd be funny if you didn't.
We are covering Mobile Suit Gundam.
Whoa. Start in the 60s.
And Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury. Speed Racer, Maison Ikkoku, Revolutionary Girl Utena, Monster,
and Steins Gate. Which they said in the episode this week. They said Steins Gate.
They did.
Daru did, specifically, I think. Because Daru's being a bad boy.
I really hope that listeners of this podcast who maybe only listen to a couple of sections will consider checking out some of the other shows that we talk about, because they're all good, except for Mushoku Tensei.
Yeah. But some people think that's good. Oh my god, what happened this week in Mushoku Tensei?
Those people are wrong.
I can't believe it. I totally didn't think that the story was going to go this way at all.
Of course, on this show, we also do bonus episodes. We are about halfway through the first season of The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, which we are going to be covering very soon.
Could you explain what we've seen so far real quick for me?
Real quick?
No.
Yeah, just real quick. That'll be an easy one. No, we've been joking about how hard it is to, like, quickly summarize The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya for a while, since our first bonus episode, which was on Bocchi the Rock. And
I think I could summarize it in a sentence.
It's like 5 hours of Bocchi the Rock, and like half an hour of that is me explaining Haruhi, and Bird insisting like that I just keep explaining. Like, I still don't understand what you're talking about. You know, the second bonus episode we did was on Cyberpunk Edge Runners. The third was on Keep Your Hands Off the Azoken. The fourth will be on The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, and we will also soon be recording the very first episode of our manga podcast, which is now available to $15 a month patrons. There are 2 episodes each month covering 1 volume each of the manga that we're talking about, including Berserk, Vagabond, Vinland Saga, JoJo's
Land
Bizarre
of the
Adventure,
Lustrous.
Part 7, and Land of the Lustrous, and then eventually a 6th manga that will be voted on by people in that tier. They're going to give their suggestions, which manga should we cover, and then I'm going to put them all on a poll, and then they are going to vote on those manga.
Ellen, I feel like I pretty much understand Haruhi Suzumiya at this point.
Yeah, it's not that it's hard to understand. It's just that it's really convoluted to try and explain any of the why. Like, the show does answer all the kinds of questions that Bird was asking me during the Bocchi the Rock episode. It's just that that's like the entire first half of the show is just explaining
what the fuck is going on with Haruhi.
Yeah, so it's a lot. Anyways, we are supported by the following people that give us at least $10 a month on Patreon and therefore have their names read in every single episode of this show. Amy Kodokuna, Anath Mibadesu, Hiwan, Hidden Music Island,
M2, Shune, Soko Soap, True Fox 1, Abby K. You thought I was gonna stop, didn't you? Devin Hall, Dylan, Ice Bear, Last Esses. It's been a while since I read that one, so it was Esses. Susu 2, Your Mom, and Zero Soon Game.
It's really more like Mom.
Oh, Mom. I apologize.
Yeah. Thank you to all of our patrons, and that I think wraps up the house cleaning section of this podcast.
House cleaning.
Do we have anything to talk about we're gonna do a shorter Birds and the Bees section this week because in the last episode we did was only like 4 days ago.
Not much has changed.
We did it on like Wednesday or Thursday or something. I don't remember.
I think we did it on Tuesday. It took a second to get it done.
I talked about having horribly injured myself by falling down a flight of stairs. I've still been recovering from those injuries. I'm finally starting to feel like I can walk normally.
That's nice.
So
until you're part of this turbo team, walk normally.
So did you check for bed bugs today? Yes, we found ourselves we thought we were going to be able to get a place to live this weekend, basically, because we got to look at a place that we thought was really cool, and we filled out the applications, and we were really hoping they were just going to like move us in. But that didn't happen, so since we're working in town next week anyways, we've been put back in one of the hotels that we had already used back when we very first came to Kansas City, like months ago. I don't know if we like really talked about finding like a hotel that felt like a liminal space and like being super weird.
We're back in a liminal space.
We went back to that one because it's the most fun hotel, and
it's got good Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it's sometimes the connection randomly goes out, so I don't know if we're gonna have this episode end up broken into parts like the last one, but it could happen. But yeah, we haven't seen any bed bugs, and again, this is a hotel we've been to before. We're sort of familiar with the staff.
Yeah, yesterday getting off the elevator, one guy went, "Oh, excuse me. Hey, I know y'all."
Yeah. So
it has been like 2 or 3 months since we've been here too.
Yeah, basically, we wanted something a little bit more guaranteed than what we've had recently, considering that our episodes have been extremely late, dealing with bad internet connection in our last hotel, just never really guaranteed. So we wanted something that was at least closer to guaranteed. I literally thought we would be recording this on time last night. I said in the Discord, which you can get to through the About page on the channel, that
we were on track to be recording.
We're on track
time.
to record at the normal time of 10 p.m. Central tonight. That was at like 7:30, 7:50, something like that, when I had just finished gathering all the screen caps and setting. Like, I was more or less
Beatrice
ready.
got too high.
And then I got really high and passed out. And then Bird woke me up like 10 minutes before 10 o'clock. And I was like, fuck, the mic stand is still in the car. I gotta go find all this shit. So I go rushing out to set up for the podcast, and Bird has completely passed out.
Oh, yeah. I fell asleep watching The Nice Guys, which is a movie I've seen already.
And I was like, well, I'm still fucking tired, obviously, because I had just taken a 2.5-hour nap. And then, woken up suddenly to do this show, and then Bird's passed out, and I'm like, this isn't good. Let's just go to sleep. Let's do this in the morning. So yeah, that was just a very basic failure of the EP attack.
It's nice to be back to familiar problems.
Yeah, exactly.
Ones we can expect, like the EP instead of bedbugs.
Yeah, bedbugs was not fun last recording. Okay. I don't think there's really much else to say. That's it. We switched hotels. We're waiting to see if we're gonna get a place in Kansas City soon. And I don't know. We spent most of yesterday we saw the Ninja Turtles movie. I knew we did something.
Oh yeah, that is something we did. That was very cute.
I wish I had got like a screen cap for that, and I'd
bacon, egg, and cheese. Bacon, egg, and cheese.
It's pretty good. It's like a really unique take on the Ninja Turtles that I have never. It was not like any other Ninja Turtles movie.
I don't think,
in spite of following many similar plot beats, like
I don't think I've ever seen a Ninja Turtles movie other than that one.
I didn't think you had.
Yeah.
I thought that might be your first Ninja Turtles experience.
I got exposed to Ninja Turtles through like Mortal Kombat and stuff, I guess.
Through Mortal Kombat?
Yeah, at one point one of them's in it, I think.
A Ninja Turtle is in Mortal Kombat?
I think so, yeah. I mean, it's not a Teenage Mutant, whatever. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, but I'm pretty sure at some point they end up in Mortal Kombat. But anyway, yeah, like I had been aware of the turtle rap, I think, through a story that a guy had told on a podcast called Risk, which is a storytelling podcast. And he talks about how he did the tour. I don't remember his name, otherwise I'd say it because it was a really good story. But he did like the promotional tour for, I think, the movies, and would get in a big giant turtle suit and do like the turtle rap.
Yeah.
And then he did the turtle rap in the story.
That rap also appeared in this new movie very briefly in it was the Go Ninja Go song, the Vanilla Ice song. It plays like very briefly. So it was a weird movie because it's the most Zoomer movie ever made, maybe. You said it might be even younger than that, but like the characters are saying things like Riz and just generally.
Honestly, most of the stuff they were saying, I was like, how did they get this into the movie so quickly? This has sprung up in the past month. They make a lot of references
to things, and like, I don't know, it was the kind of thing where I was like, man, if this is really aimed at like a 14-year-old, then 14-year-olds these days are expected to have seen a lot of fucking shit.
Which they are.
I guess so. Or maybe, well, it's hard for me to tell how much of it is for children and how much is for the
parents watching.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm
also
32. I felt like I understood every single thing that's in the movie, but like at the same time was like, is this because I'm older or because I'm younger? Like, I can't tell why I understand everything they're saying.
The theater chain in Kansas City is called B&B Theaters, and they have like specialized theaters. So like they have a big screen or good seats or better audio in specific theaters. We happened to get it's called Screenplay, And what that
yeah.
means is next to and in front of all of the seats is a large playground.
There's like a full-on like McDonald's play place inside of this theater.
So the
It
guy
was empty when we saw this movie.
the guy
thankfully.
the guy warned us, was like, hey, this is screenplay. There's like a playground for people to play with.
Well, and like before the movie
kids.
starts, so before like I popped my head into this theater before the movie started, and there's like a guy on the screen like doing a baby game with what would be the audience if there was an audience.
Sure.
Where it's like, can you figure out what, like, it's a Blue's Clues style thing where like he counts down and then you give your answer at the screen, like it's meant to be a playing experience. And then again, like next to the seats on the left is a whole like McDonald's play place. And then
I wanted to play in it.
There's
It looked really cool.
I mean, as I said to you, I was like, if I had seen this movie in this theater at like 6 years old, I would be losing my fucking mind that this was real. Like, I'd be up on this play place all the way up until the movie starts, and then I'd sit down and I'd watch fucking Ninja Turtle movie. It'd probably be an amazing experience. Instead, it was just kind of a surreal novelty.
Yeah, it was funny.
Totally empty, strange children's theater.
Well, because that was the other thing, too. When he asked me, do you care that it's in screenplay, I said, is it busy? And he said, no. Now, what I thought that meant was like, there's 2 other people there, maybe.
No.
There was no one. It was
no
completely empty.
But, I mean, which is even cooler if you were a kid, that like if it had been empty and you got to play there all by yourself, that would be fucking awesome. But like,
I will be honest, like 2 minutes before the movie started, the thought crossed my mind of like, there's no one in here. We could probably just ask them to play Oppenheimer. How much money would it cost to just get them to play Oppenheimer instead?
Play us Oppenheimer in the fucking play place theater.
Well, because we were
my
trying to
God,
see
that'd be
Oppenheimer,
hilarious.
it's just it doesn't play.
It didn't play
early.
at the right hours, so we were just like, fuck it, there's the Ninja Turtle one.
Or our third backup was Blue Beetle, which I still kind of want to see.
Yeah, I would say the Turtle movie seemed a little dark and a little above the heads of the kind of audience that was expected to use that.
It shows
play
their shells
theater.
getting like cracked.
They get milked.
Oh yeah, they do get milked.
The
also.
central point of
that.
this movie is that Splinter is afraid that they're going to get milked, and then they do. It's that's the movie.
Well, and multiple times throughout the movie, they go like, "How are they going to milk us? We don't even have nipples." And then it's like a whole big reveal.
They blood milk you. Apparently, they're just gonna blood milk you.
It was a very cute movie. It's very strange. I thought it was cute at the beginning that Seth Rogen comes on the screen and goes, "Hey, man, I like making movies. Thanks for coming to see my movie."
Yeah, he did do a little intro.
I think the only other person I've seen do that before was Kevin Smith.
Yeah, it was interesting. They really cut out all the Japan stuff too. Like historically, like the reason Splinter knew karate is that he had like a Japanese karate master as his like owner.
Okay.
And then
Oh, that's adorable. Okay, that was something I was confused about because I was like, really? They're the best martial artists ever because they watched martial arts training videos from the 70s?
I think they were just trying to cut.
It was a really good montage. I liked it a lot.
Like, any racist towards Japan undertones, I think they were trying to cut out of the movie. They may have included some racist undertones, but it's hard to say. I think a lot of people are gonna have different reactions to this movie based on what they read into it.
Yeah.
So I think it would be interesting to read like think pieces by opinion havers on the Ninja Turtles movie. I only have opinions about anime though, so let's do that. Let's talk about
Jungo Bungo.
Yeah, it's Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2. As we've established on the last episode, you've read this whole manga, so now you know all the stuff that's going to happen. Yeah. But you seem to be saying that the anime is better in a way because of
the manga's better in a way because in the manga you can just read through all the dialogue real quick.
Right.
And then the anime is better because you can understand what's happening in the fight scenes.
Yeah.
I will say this fight scene is pretty much translated from the manga, from what I can tell, and it, I could pretty much understand what's going on. It's hard to draw a lot of action going on, but they did a lot with Mahito, which was really cool in this fight. But yeah, I don't know. In the manga, sometimes it's just hard to tell what exactly a character is doing, just because it looks so fucking crazy and out there.
Yeah. The use of color helps a lot with
That is true.
distinguishing, and obviously motion makes action clearer. So yeah, it's a show that plays to the strengths of being an anime adaptation pretty well, because, I mean, it's purely what a shonen... I would think, if you are a shonen manga reader, all you want from the anime adaptation is that the fights look as cool as fucking possible. That's it. That's all you could, like... Otherwise, the anime doesn't really have a purpose to exist. If they can get this one thing right, that's basically it. And, I haven't read the manga. If the pacing of the anime is such that it really feels like it is just one big fight and then another big fight and then another big fight.
That's pretty much the manga.
Okay.
I mean, especially now that we're heading into...
It's so distilled.
It is very, yes. We're heading into the Shibuya incident, and immediately after which the culling game arc starts. And without saying anything much about either of those two are pretty much just like, huge fight. Oh, hey, you might have seen too much of that huge fight. Here's this other huge fight that's also going on right now. Or, especially once it gets into the culling game arc, it's pretty much just like, huge fight, different character, huge fight, different pair of characters, huge fight, huge fight, huge fight, huge fight, huge fight.
Huge fight, huge fight.
Yeah.
So, Jujutsu Kaisen, they could have called this show Huge Fight.
I don't think that quite has the ring to it as Jujutsu Kaisen, but I would accept it.
Way more ring. Huge fight.
I would. It's pretty peak shonen. I would agree.
So this huge fight is pretty huge because
literally huge.
It's Mechamaru,
Ultimate
Ultimate Mechamaru, and his giant mecha.
I'm gonna be honest.
Fucking
in the
laser beams.
I didn't expect Ultimate Mechamaru to be like metal. I expected him to have the same like semi-wood color scheme style that the regular Mechamarus have going on.
Yeah.
But it's got to be stronger, I guess. But yeah, so basically, if you don't remember it, Mahito healed Mechamaru's body, and Mechamaru got into this giant fucking thing. This giant fucking thing basically works by spending the years of cursed energy that... I wish I remembered Mechamaru's name, that Mechamaru has been heavenly restricted for.
Yeah, he has like 17 years worth of cursed power. So every time he's using an attack, he's like,
charge 1 year, charge 5 years.
And
he also has cursed techniques, but he only has a limited amount of them. They don't seem to spend energy like that.
It's a good way of like, you feel right at the start of the fight exactly how long the fight can possibly last.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, if he already used a year right off the top, and then he has to use more powerful moves from there, he's only got 15 years to work with. This is not going to last very long. Can he use one big enough nuke to...
kill Mahito.
Kill this fucking guy before he has to move. And, like... Mechamaru's hoping that he just blows this guy away and then goes and kills the other guy.
Pseudo Geto.
Yeah, Pseudo Geto.
I think it's safe to call him Pseudo Geto at this point. I'm pretty sure they call him Pseudo Geto in this episode.
But yeah, so Mechamaru, like, he's stomping out Mahito. He's putting him through the fucking countryside. He uses, like, 5 years, I think, to use this big rainbow attack.
It was something pigeon. I don't remember what it was called. But basically, I had seen this clip on Twitter with the caption, "This feels like Studio Trigger disrespect." And I didn't watch it because I couldn't exactly parse what the fuck was going on in it.
What the hell does that mean?
And that was the other... I don't get that either. It doesn't...
Yeah.
So basically this scene...
I hate the way people tweet.
Mechamaru, he shoots 5 years worth of cursed energy at Mahito, and it turns into like all these different colorful ribbons, and Mahito's like constantly changing shapes and animals to escape this somehow, but they keep chasing him. It is a really cool sequence.
I would have compared it much more to something that Masaaki Yuasa would do. It's like this wild fucking like right behind Mahito's back the whole way through. So like as he's transforming and scampering and running away, like because I thought immediately when I saw all the colorful missiles come out that there was going to be an Itano circus, which is like very common animation trope of having like all the missiles following the character through the air and doing like a dazzling array of stuff, but by focusing in on like behind the character instead and having the missiles kind of dance around them, it looks totally different. It was a very unique sequence. I don't really understand comparing it to Trigger, but
yeah, I didn't get it.
Whoever animated this sequence did a great job.
This was really cool because he basically, he's hit Mahito with a big attack, and then he's close enough, and Mahito uses domain expansion on him.
Which just means that he, like, a bunch of fucking trippy looking shit happens for, like, a solid minute.
Yeah, that happens, but what the effects of the domain, and all domains are a sure hit, so he's definitely going to get hit, but with Mahito specifically, to use his thing, Idle Transfiguration, he needs to be touching the person. In the domain, he doesn't. And so Mahito thinks he's killed Mechamaru, and then, oh my god, Mechamaru uses one of his cursed techniques, and it's Simple Domain, I think. And basically, Simple Domain is a domain that people without a domain can invoke inside of a domain to cancel out the stronger domain.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Show's gonna become a lot more like that soon.
When is the Jujutsu Kaisen board game coming out?
Oh, I bet it exists. That's a really good idea.
When is the tabletop adaptation of this happening? Because nerds, I can tell, would be chomping at the bit.
It would be really good.
This level of complexity into a nerdier form.
Anyway, so, whoops, look at that. Mechamaru's alive, and he stabs Mahito through the chest.
Doesn't work, though. Mahito apparently planned for that. He basically just explained, like, pretty much smash cut to Mechamaru dead, and Mahito I knew he was going to do all that stuff, so I just pretty much prepared for that and killed his ass. Fuck him.
We would... Oh, no, I can't say that.
And so Mechamaru, like, I don't know, as he's dying, he's thinking about that cute blue-haired girl.
Miwa. Useless Miwa.
He's like, I want to see you. Too late, you're dead.
Is this Psalm 100?
No, this is still Jujutsu Kaisen.
Right. We do start Shibuya in this.
So big fight over. Bad guys won. Haha, we're cool.
Quick.
To Shibuya. Yeah. Everyone's fucking getting sucked up in a big tornado.
It doesn't start like this. They explain what's going on first. Someone has lowered a veil roughly 400 meters in diameter, or whatever, circumference, 400 meter big, around Shibuya, specifically around this train station, I believe. So everyone's freaking out at first. They're kind of trying to get into the veil. There's some drunk people, it's Halloween, so there's some drunk people just running into the veil to see if they can get through it. Some people can see it. Other people can't. Most people are freaking out, I would say. And then there's a couple people that just kind of whatever. We're fine. We're not dying or anything. Yeah. And then this happens.
It actually does show this before all of that.
Oh, it does?
It really does cut to Shibuya, show a bunch of people getting sucked into a vortex, and then explain what's going on.
I had been very confused as to what was happening here at first, but it's everyone getting sucked into the train station. They are mostly fine, I believe. I mean, for now.
Big people ball.
Yeah. So everyone gets sucked up into the train station. Everyone who wasn't near the train station is just kind of hanging out. And then so the conditions of the veil are normal people can't leave, sorcerers can come and go, and they are telling all the normal people to tell everyone else, bring us Gojo Satoru. Let Gojo in. Bring him in.
Bring us Gojo.
And then so it cuts to Gojo coming in, and he's just sticking his hand out through the veil, and he accidentally like palms a guy's
When
face.
you
I think.
accidentally make a character so powerful that the story necessarily has to revolve around them at all times.
I don't know if it's true, but I have seen a lot of people go like, "Oh, here's the reason Gege hates Gojo," and
I mean, it's because of this. He wrote himself into a corner by making him so strong that, like, if anything, like, he's the only like. If he's that much stronger than everyone else, he's the only one that matters until he's been killed, you know?
well,
Like,
or something else that will happen.
or if anybody else becomes as powerful as him.
Not really, but yeah. Anyway, so Gojo comes in. There's a lot of the other sorcerers just kind of going to different points around the outside of the veil, saying, "Yeah, no, Gojo's the only one we were allowed to send in, so we're just gonna stand out here and wait for any extra people to come out." And then I think it just kind of ends that Gojo leaves, or Gojo goes in and he's just walking in, and that's it, right? That's kind of how it ends.
Yeah, he literally just walks in and the episode ends. But there's also a part where, like, Panda is talking about the situation with someone.
A grade 1 sorcerer. He was in the first season.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just everyone, talking on the outside, waiting for
Right.
something to do.
To respond to some of the discussion in the chat, how do you feel about, like, Mechamaru dying here? Do you feel disappointed that he's
No, but yeah. I don't feel bad that he dies.
okay?
Yeah, I don't know. He never really did that much.
So, like, yeah,
It seems like they set up the Miwa thing like right before he died just to give him a little bit of sympathy, because other than that, we just knew him as a spy.
in season 1, I feel like, so the first arc of Jujutsu Kaisen, like, introduces the main ass characters, and then, like, one-off villain kid guy who Mahito manipulates. I really didn't like that arc very much. When we got into the second arc, it introduces a whole ton of characters, all of whom prospectively could be, like, in for the long haul, shonen, archetypical characters. And, like, if you have grown up with, say, Naruto or Bleach, where very rarely does anyone die, then
People don't die in Bleach.
no one fucking dies in Bleach.
That sucks.
No one ever fucking dies in Bleach. The same characters. The show just keeps adding characters, and, like, some of them will be, like, really fleshed out initially, and then over time, every once in a while, they get their moment, and you're like, oh yeah, that guy's still cool, But they're also trying to introduce all these other new characters.
There's gonna be a lot of that soon.
So in this series, like, they introduced a lot of characters who, yeah, again, could be those perspective, like, how much Mechamaru are we going to see? Is it going to be hundreds of episodes of him having, like, a little fight on the side every single whenever?
But we kind of just saw him once during the, like, school meeting arc, and then we saw him again now.
Now, yeah, pretty much just 2 appearances so far ever. But I do think that having him have, like, this huge individual fight against the bad guy. I mean, like, it
cool.
starts with the fact that he already was a traitor to the good guys.
Yeah.
So I would say if there's a reason he died, in the terms of the drama of the story, he did kind of help the bad guys in order to try and pull off this.
He
attack
ruined
against
everything.
them. Yeah, he fucked up. So his death, like, he dies in, like, kind of heroic way, but at the same time, he didn't really accomplish anything. He kind of really gave the bad guys even more power.
It becomes more heroic later in something we learn about.
Okay.
I mean, it's still not very heroic. Mechamaru fails.
I just think I do think that's a more interesting and memorable character to me than it would have been if he had just been, like, around.
Yeah.
If he'd just been another guy who gets fights and, like, oh, he's a robot guy, that's cool. Like, the fact that he got his body restored already was, like, okay, so we've already sort of done the main thing that there was about this guy, like, is that he's, doesn't have a functional body. So as soon as you fix that, then it's like, all right, I feel like we've gotten most of this character. We answered the questions that were raised when the character was introduced. Could more have been done with him? Maybe, but there's a lot of characters, and
I don't think more could have been done with him, actually, now that you've got me thinking about it. So, the way this show progresses its characters / power scaling and their development is, this isn't entirely... Actually, no, it is. I'm pretty sure it is. Let's say you have, like, a young Gojo or young Megumi, and then they go through something incredibly traumatic, and wow... This incredibly traumatic thing has led them to awaken a whole new power. In Gojo's case, purple, because, he fucking died.
Yeah.
And then in Megumi's case, it was his domain expansion. And so it's kind of like... I think they even go so far as to say it, at least in the manga, something to the effect of... Yeah, you can't progress as a sorcerer doing mediocre sorcery things. Mm-hmm. You have to constantly be pushing yourself, even if that means coming close to dying. Right. And so with Mekamaru, they kind of pushed him to the extent he could go, which is, he's got a bunch of robots and he's got a big robot. Right. He doesn't have cursed techniques.
Yeah.
He can blast cursed energy through robots. I mean, I guess his cursed technique is controlling the puppets, but, like, how far does that take? You can't do that much with that in this world. Just especially thinking about...
Basically, you're just saying he's a naturally underpowered sorcerer overall.
Well, that's the... I mean, he's not. He has a lot of power. It's just the way he uses it is not very powerful, it seems, compared to... in the Culling Games arc, a bunch of people awaken a Jujutsu power, and a lot of them have to do with... themselves, like who they are as a person. Without explaining like the story of it, a prosecutor gets a power and his immediately develops it as far as it can be taken. He has a domain, he can use this, he can do everything, but his domain is like a court trial. So it's not like an immediate kill thing, but it's very personal to him, and that's going to start to be a big thing too, of things that are very personal to people, because up until this point in Jujutsu Kaisen, we've kind of been restricted to people that the old guys would let into the school because their cursed techniques are traditional, and they mention that quite often too. From here on out, it's going to get less traditional, but way more fun. I really like the personalization of Jujutsu powers. It feels a lot like Hunter x Hunter when we get to that point. But that's something I really liked about Hunter x Hunter too. Anyway, I don't remember what point I was making.
I think you made it.
Cool.
Yeah, alright. That's enough about Jujutsu Kaisen. Let's talk about Maison Ikkoku.
Ikkoku.
This is a kind of cute episode. I appreciate that something Rumiko Takahashi likes to do with her stories is flesh out the random townspeople and side characters and people who are not who probably are not even really going to be named, or maybe they are somewhere on a sidebar in the manga or something, but in the last episode, the main guy Godai shouted to the entire neighborhood that he likes Kyoko-san. So these two ladies overheard that, and
he also said it was a joke to her personally.
Yes, well, that was, and he didn't understand what he was talking about when he said that. But she thinks that he did it as a joke, but no one else thinks that because they all saw it, and they didn't hear him say that it's a joke like she did. So she's been ignoring him, kind of giving him the cold shoulder. He's all depressed about it. The mom at the place is like, how come you're not being, all cutesy and everything like you usually are? And she's like, I'm not like that. And then the neighbor ladies come over and they're like,
well,
hey.
Godai specifically leaves the house first.
Yeah, Godai leaves the house.
He passes these women.
The neighbor ladies come in and they're like, how come, you're not...
Why aren't you banging him? Huh?
Yeah, what's going on? I want someone to confess to me like that. That seems like a lot of fun. And the subject of her dead husband comes up, and they're
And
like,
they both go, "Oh, I feel bad for you, but that's no way to live."
yeah, you don't want to live in the shadow of your dead husband. Why don't you come to this tennis club with us? Because there's this really hot tennis instructor that we've all been trying to, I guess, cling on to. So this is Shiny Teeth
Oh
Man.
I want shorts that short.
Look at how fucking short they are. Yeah, he's a handsome, tall dude with a smile that goes bling every time he
Do that.
flashes his smile. So the ladies are all into it. And as soon as he realizes that Kyoko-san is really good at tennis, they have like a match. She's kicking ass. Of course, Godai stops and sees this match happening, and he cannot take his eyes off of her. Then the guy's got his hands all on her hips and arm, showing her some swing techniques, moving in. The lady killer, they call him. The man who's been stealing all the wives in town. Godai has reasons to be concerned. Also,
then it gets to be hot outside, and so she puts this outfit on.
Kyoko-san is dressing real slutty. And
although
I'm
she's
all
dressing
for it.
sluttier too. I mean, she's still wearing the nightgown. I hadn't even noticed that. I was only paying attention to the short shorts and crop top.
Well, it's the defensive. She's standing insecure.
Yeah, she's like, "Why are you dressing sexy? That's my thing."
Yeah, don't do this to me. You're stealing my bit. Kyoko-san is dressed like me. So basically,
Actually, someone said that the tennis instructor looks like Godai with black hair, and they are right. That's really funny.
yeah, Takahashi doesn't have a lot of male archetype faces that she draws. Fucking in Ranma, like Ranma and his rival look like exactly the same.
Can his rival also turn into different genders?
He turns into a pig, a cute little pig.
Oh, well, that's not as cool, but sure.
It's fun. He's a good character. Anyway, so they all end up having drinks together, and tennis instructor clearly wants to bang Kyoko, but they're all like, "Hey, are you gonna let him say that stuff to her? Didn't you say you love her?" And he just straight up says it again. He's like, "Yeah, I do love her, and it's not a joke." And then they're like, "Well,
you did it without
shit."
being sober, and then they start trying to pressure him into drinking.
But then, pretty much as soon as he says this, Kyoko tries to get up, falls over, gets accidentally groped by this guy, and runs out. He runs out after her to be like, "Hey, sorry, that was, I didn't, And she's like, "It is what it is. I'm just such a widow." And then he's like, "Damn," and he has to walk away. And Godai can't even get close. He's just like, "Oh, widow energy. Oh, the blockage. Oh, the spirit of her dead husband hovering around her
But
at
then,
all times."
Tennis Guy follows. Well, no, doesn't Tennis Guy like palm her boob first?
Well, that was before I just described.
Oh, I'm
that.
sorry.
She
Did you mention?
fell over and he?
Did you mention that when that happened, Soichiro across town noticed?
Yeah, the dog, like, everyone in the room reacts, and then the dog also reacts.
And gets, like, spidey sense and
yeah.
starts howling. But Tennis Man, comes up onto the ledge and goes, "Hey, I don't care if you're sad about your dead husband. I'm really patient." Okay.
Yeah, This was a solid one. I think introducing
this
some
episode.
competition is a good idea, and
Real competition and not like fake competition like the
Right.
dog was.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also interesting that like certain anime tropes, like obviously accidental groping, often one of the most obnoxious tropes in anime.
Yeah. Pretty much the one I hear most consistently complained about as to why people won't watch anime.
Yeah, I would say this was the most like normal.
It was very much an accident and not really fan servicey.
Yeah, and it just kind of happens. It's like she falls over, you see the hand hit the boob, and then she's like, "Oh fuck," and she's embarrassed about it. It's just handled very realistically. Like, well, okay, yeah, these things do happen, which is how they end up in anime in the first place. But you just so rarely see it handled in a normal way. Yeah, I guess it still falls into like the atmosphere of sexy comedy, but like without trying to be like Hey, what if you got to accidentally grab her boob, though? Whoa, isn't that cool? Alright, that's enough of that show. Pokemon.
This was a really cute episode of Pokemon. So this episode starts with
this fucking girl who got introduced.
Don't remember her
just
name.
Just in case anybody forgot, in the
It's
very
Liko's best
first
friend.
episode, the whole first episode was about Liko going to school and making best friends with this girl. And then Liko immediately left school, never came back, and has only talked to her through the computer screen. It was such a weird way to start a show.
But so anyway, now this girl has a second Pokemon, and she just calls it Sand. And I'm really happy to learn that Sandshrews' name in Japanese is just Sand. It's very cute.
Ellen said the exact same thing while you were saying it.
So anyway, basically, this girl who I wish I could remember the name of goes, "So Liko, when are you gonna get your second Pokemon?" And Liko goes, "I don't know. I'm gonna wait a little bit. I'm still trying to develop a relationship with Nyahoja." And when that happened, I was like, wow, I bet she's going to get a second Pokemon in this episode. We also, actually, the episode did start off with the Mibrim being scared, remember?
Yeah.
Before the intro played. The Mibrim, I believe, was scared by lightning or something like that. But yeah, little hat Pokemon, it picks up on good or bad vibes.
Hatterene in English,
I think it's Hatterene, yeah. Or Hatena or something.
Hatena? Yeah, it is Hatena, I think.
But anyway, it's Mibrim in this Pokemon. It's adorable. It's a very cute Pokemon.
It senses the feelings of other living creatures. So basically, she finds it, this cute little thing, like, afraid. She takes it up.
Well, it's afraid and, like, incapacitated. It's, so like, in a box, and it can't move.
She brings it onto the ship to nurse it back to health.
But then, what is it? Liko's looking after Mibrim, and then Liko and Dot or Roy get in like a little argument, and Mibrim gets scared. And so Mibrim's running around the ship, constantly just running into.
So that all happens. I think when she first finds it, she brings it to the nurse, and the nurse just says, like, there's nothing, like, physically wrong with the Pokemon.
Yeah.
But sometimes you feel lifeless even if you're physically well because of feelings.
Relatable.
Yeah, I thought this was a good line. I was just like, hey, this is a very tactful way to explain that, like, sometimes you get depressed, you know?
Even Pokemon get depressed sometimes.
So... Yeah, okay. It's Hatena and Hatterene is the evolution. So, yeah.
It's not like it doesn't have 3 evolutions. I had always thought that the Hat Pokemon had 3 evolutions, but I guess it does. No, it does. Hatterene.
This is the one that becomes
Hatrim. Hatrim is the second one.
Oh my god, this is one of my favorite evolutionary lines.
Yeah, I'm really
excited. So excited if she actually evolves this thing to to Hatterene.
The sexy Pokemon with the big hat.
Hatterene is my spirit Pokemon.
Mine is a Reuniclus. I don't know if do you remember Reuniclus?
No.
I think he was introduced in Black and White, but he's like the green goo guy.
Yeah, I love that guy.
Yeah. He's my favorite evolutionary line because he starts off as like the little guy, and then he's 2 guys. And
I had that.
he was a big guy.
In X and Y, I had one of those.
It's also the counterpart to the Goth Pokemon. Gothitelle.
Yeah. So anyway, Liko and Liko's taking around Hatena. She's taking around Hatena, trying to figure out, what the deal is. Dot comes along. The 2 of them are, like, going around the ship, observing things. This scene, basically, Hatena gets scared because there's a fight breaking out between the cook